So here we are, arguing what will the policy be like under Democrats, under Republicans, but some of my friends from the U.S. are saying, Arthur, it's one party, it's a uniparty.
Yes.
And just like you said, they're all sponsored by, a certain very wealthy social class.
Yeah.
So in the end, does it really matter if there is this thing called foreign policy elite or deep state or whatever you call it, people who can influence foreign policy no matter who is elected? What I think would be helpful at some point in the future is to look at the whole practice of lobbyism.
Yes.
Because to me, it resembles a little bit like legalized corruption.
Yes.
When money is being poured into the political system to influence political decisions. It's not a very good thing for American democracy.
American democracy is a democracy on the surface. This is a plutocracy by any definition. It's a government run by big interests. It's good to remember that when the Roman Republic ended and the Roman Empire began, usually dated to 27 BC, when Octavius became Augustus, but actually gradually changed from republic to empire decades before that, including with Julius Caesar and Pompey and Mark Antony and the rest. The formal structure of democracy actually remained, or not democracy, but of republicanism. The Senate remained. The Senate remained for centuries afterwards. Of course, it was just people in togas being given perks, but they didn't have any power after the emperors came to rule. But in a way, the U.S. is a bit like that, which is that we have the semblance of democracy, but it's run actually on two pillars. One is the deep state, which is a secretive power structure of the Pentagon, the CIA, the arms contractors, the security institutions, or insecurity institutions as I call them, war and so on. And the other is the big money. And the big money is the billionaires as a class, and the lobbying groups in particular. Wall Street does this, big health insurers have this part, and so on, a number of distinct economic interests. It's not very functional. The American people know they are powerless. They don't like the way the country's going. They vote out the incumbents. Trump's vote, after all, wasn't even a vote for Trump. It was a vote against the status quo. He didn't win more votes than in 2020, but Harris got a lot less votes than Biden had received in 2020 because the Biden administration didn't deliver for anybody. It just made more war, more insecurity, more inflation, more deficits, more debt, and the public knew it. So it's an unhappy situation. I would not say the people are in control. I would not say this is government of the people, by the people, and for the people that Abraham Lincoln talked about. I would say this is a government of the rich, by the rich, for the rich. And unfortunately, it doesn't deliver for most Americans right now.
In the week since we left Russia, Moscow, where we are now, in February after interviewing Vladimir Putin, we've watched from the United States as the Biden administration has driven the U.S. ever closer to a nuclear conflict with Russia, the country that possesses the world's largest nuclear arsenal. It has accelerated ever since, and it's reached its apogee so far in the weeks after Trump's election. He is now the president-elect. In that time, just a few weeks ago, the Biden administration, American military personnel launched missiles into mainland Russia and killed at least a dozen Russian soldiers. So we are, unbeknownst to most Americans, in a hot war with Russia, an undeclared war, a war you did not vote for and that most Americans don't want, but that is ongoing. And because of that war, because of the fact that the U.S. military is killing Russians in Russia right now, we are closer to nuclear war than at any time in history. Far closer than we were during the Cuban Missile Crisis. That would mean the elimination of Russia, the United States, and most of the rest of the world. We felt there must be someone behind the scenes in Washington working to make sure that this conflict doesn't become a nuclear holocaust. But we found out that no, in fact, there is nobody. Tony Blinken, the current Secretary of State, cut off all contact between the U.S. and Russian governments. There is no back channel, there is no conversation, there hasn't been for more than 2 years. That's shocking. Meanwhile, most Americans have no access to any perspective other than that granted to them by NBC News and the New York Times. They don't know how close we are. They don't know the Russian perspective. We've been trying for over a year to get that perspective out to American news consumers. We've also tried for over a year to get an interview with Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. We've attacked that from a bunch of different angles. We've spoken to a lot of different people around him, had dinner with them. We've been in talks continuously, and those efforts have been thwarted by the U.S. government. The American embassy in Kiev, which our tax dollars pay for, told the Zelensky government, no, you may not do the interview. You can talk to CNN, you can't talk to us. So we've been unable to speak to him. So we came back to Moscow yesterday to interview the foreign minister of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, the longest serving foreign minister in the world. He's been a part of this government for 25 years. He's been in the diplomatic corps for over 40. And ask him, where exactly are we? Are we headed toward an unprecedented conflict between Russia and the United States? Is there any way to peel Russia back from the east, from the sphere of China, back into the west? Is that alliance permanent? And does the election of Donald Trump mean an end to this war, which is reshaping the world, the U.S. economy, the global economy, and risking the life of every person on this planet? Is that possible? We just walked out of that interview. It's absolutely fascinating. It's coming very soon. We hope you'll watch.